If your calendar is maxed out with one-on-one clients right now, the thought of adding more clients probably stresses you out. What that means is you've hit the pain line. You'll never deliberately grow your business into pain, and so you're stuck and stalled. I got good news for you. There's a better way. We're gonna get you off the hamster wheel and into the good life by switching to group coaching. Let me show you how to do it. So one of my favorite clients is this cat called George. I freaking love George. But when he came to me, he was stressed out. When I first met George, he said, I coach 6 days a week from 6 a.m. through to 7 p.m., 13 hours a day. I wake up in the morning, I look at the phone and I want to puke. I showed him how to switch to group coaching, and 30 days later, he freed up every second week. So he's now got a week on and a week off, a week on and a week off. He freed up 26 weeks a year using the system that I'm about to show you right now. And what's best, it wasn't just better for George, it was better for the clients as well, because when you do it right, group coaching is better for your clients, not just for you, the coach. Okay, so before we get to work, when I run through this process with our clients, there's a playbook. There's worksheets and scripts and tools that we use to make your life easier as we go through this process together. Download it now so you can have it and follow along together. Okay, amigo, let's get started. First big problem. What do I do to make sure that my clients don't hate it and all cancel and leave me off worse than when I got started, back when I had a handful of one-on-one guys and it was okay? Here's the thing. Most coaches switch to group coaching because they need to. It's better for them. Their calendar is maxed and their income is capped. And they're the two main reasons that people switch. If you do it right, and that's the key, switching to group coaching is actually significantly better, not just for you, but for your clients as well. If you think about it, every elite athlete, whether they're an Olympian or a professional sports person, even if they compete solo, they train in squads. Why on earth do they do that? Well, because everybody knows that when you train together, you train harder. I don't know if you've ever been to the gym solo, that's cool. But if you go to the gym with a mate, you lift harder. It's exactly the same thing in a group coaching environment. When you're down, they'll lift you up. When you're crushing, you can lift them up. Everybody plays harder when they don't want to let their friends down. So in our world, community is massive. Even if you just think about it from a tactical point of view, in our world, in black belt, I don't know how many times you try something new, run an experiment, get the data and kind of use that to improve. Maybe it's once a month. Maybe it's once a month. It's probably not, but let's pretend it is. In black belt, there are hundreds of coaches, each taking our tools, running an experiment, getting the data and optimizing, and then feeding the data back to the whole group. So instead of it taking 12 months for you to get 9 or 10 new pieces of data, you get that every few weeks. And your rate of implementation, your rate of improvement is astronomically different. People train harder and they win faster when they train in squad. So don't just switch to group coaching for you. Understand that we're gonna do this so that it's better for your clients as well. And that's a big part of how we frame it up with them. But it's not enough for you to think it's good. We need them to be convinced that this will work for them so they'll happily go along on the transition as well. That's where number 2 comes in. All right, so how are we feeling? If you're like any of the coaches that I've helped do this transition, and there's been hundreds so far, you're probably a little bit excited about what's possible and a whole lot freaked out about, oh, can I really do this? And what if it all goes horribly wrong? Let me tell you right now, it's a 6-week process. The first 5 weeks is you shitting yourself in terror. In week 6, you do it, and it takes 2 or 3 days, and then you spend the last 3 or 4 days wishing you had it done it 6 weeks ago. Okay, I gotcha. We're gonna be fine. It's really easy to sell group coaching to new people, to new prospects. How do we do it to our existing clients and have them transition from one-on-one that's crushing your life right now and into something that is better for them but frees up your calendar without them complaining about it? It's really important that we know how to transition existing clients over. In the movies where there's some scared young man who's out on a first date with a girl and he wants to hug her and they're sitting there watching the movie and he does the yawn slide hug thing. Yeah, the yawn slide hug thing is exactly what we're gonna do. We need to slide this thing over. We don't just wanna go, by the way, one-on-one's dead, we're doing this now, suck it. That's not how to make this work. We wanna do it step by step by step. And that's where we're gonna need our group coaching toolkit. So grab this right now if you haven't already from the link below. Let's do this. The first thing we want to do is to have them have one great experience of a group and it working really well. And so the first move is what we call swap 1. It's really straightforward. I bet that if you're doing one-on-one work with a group of clients over a week or 2, you'll probably see some common themes. And so we use that as the hook for a group conversation about that topic. Hey, it's funny you bring that up. There's 3 or 4 other clients I'm working with right now who are going through the same sort of thing. And rather than me give you a little bit of advice here and a little bit of advice to them and a little bit of advice to them, and none of you has the whole picture. What I'd love to do is get a few of you guys together. Firstly, you'll get to meet each other, but second, we can go really deep on this topic and make a plan for everybody. Would that be okay? They'd be like, sure. And so what we do is, let's say you're working with them every week. By the way, it doesn't matter if it's fortnightly, every 2 weeks, or it's once a week, doesn't really matter. One of their 4 calls that they get a month. I'm just gonna swap one of them So they still have 3 one-on-ones, but 1 group thing together, right? That's the plan. We're going to get them to trade one of their one-on-one conversations for something group around a topic that's a hot topic for all of them. And we just run it like we normally would, a typical Taki style workshop. They're going to love it. They're going to have a great experience. And at the end, we get to teach the topic that's most useful for them. So we pick a hot topic. We run a workshop. It doesn't have to be super fancy because it's only going to be like a handful of people. They have a great time. And at the end, we debrief as a group. What do you really enjoy about working on this stuff together? And they'll tell you what they enjoyed. I'm like, cool. And then we can go back to them and say, hey, remember how we did that thing? What if we did that once a month? Most people would happily trade 1 call a month for something better that's group, because we get to go deep on a topic and actually get the work done instead of just talking about it. So step 1 is we swap it once. Step 2 is we swap it monthly. That's a great setup. Now they've had a couple of tries, a couple of tastes of this, and they really like it. Now I want to talk to you about how to actually make the transition formal. So they've had a couple of good experiences. Now we want to make it official. Here's how we do it. There's 3 steps. We need to position, test, and wean. Position. The first thing we need to do is have a conversation with each of your clients one-on-one. If that's how you're working with them right now, obviously that's how we're going to talk to them. What a lot of my clients do is they blame it on me. In fact, George, who I told you about before, this was his exact words. I've just spent a fortune on a crazy guy from Australia to help me solve 1 problem and answer 1 question. What we've been working on together is, how do I get you even better results in 1/10 of the FaceTime? So if you see what's going on, he's not saying, I want to take away all this stuff. He's doing it for them. It's how do we get you better results in 1/10 of the time? That's the win for the client. And so then he goes, so what I'd like to do for the next 90 days is run a test. Here's the thing. You can make any changes you want if you frame it as an experiment. In other words, we want to make it safe for people to do the new thing that they might be a bit worried or scared about. So we want to take the risk out. Anytime you propose a change which might feel dramatic, people are likely to be a bit scared of it. So we take the risk out by framing it as an experiment, as a 90-day test. So for the next 90 days, I want to run it in a group format. I'm going to get you and the other, my other clients who are amazing. I think you're going to love them. We're all working on the same stuff together. And I think we're going to get better results quicker if we can step by step teach you share the piece, get you to implement it, and then report back on your results as we go. So we frame it as a test. And at the end of 90 days, if you don't like it, we can go right back. Here's what happens. They love it and they don't go right back. But by framing it as a test, you take all of the fear and risk out of it for them. And they know that in 90 days, they can roll back if they want to. So I told you about George and Noel, his business partner, right at the start. When they did this, Noel was a little bit nervous about doing this and George was gung-ho. So George did it with all of his clients and Noel waited just to see what happened, which is totally fair. George's clients all made the jump over and none of them decided to roll back. And then guess what Noel did? He did exactly what George had just done, just a month or 2 later. So we position it. We're here to help you get better results with less time, frame it as a test. And then what we want to do is just wean them off one-on-one and onto the new model. So the one-on-ones are going to drop and the group is going to expand. But that brings up the big question. What do I actually put in my group? How do I frame it and position it? And what are the ingredients? So how do you sell a group? I want you to think about a promise and pills. In Australia, there's a company called Nurofen that makes it's like Tylenol, I think in the States, and it sells like headache medicine. And what they found was people bought headache medicine, but they often had other problems, period pain or migraines or tension headaches. And so what they did is they took the exact same formula, the exact same pill, and they just put a different wrapper on it. So if you can see here, there's period Nurofen, there's tension headache, there's migraine pain Nurofen at a premium price, and they sold incredibly well. Till they got in trouble because they were selling the exact same pill with a different wrapper. I don't want you to be dodgy like them, but I want you to take the idea of the more customized and tailored my solution can feel like for the headaches and the problems that my people have, the better. We need a promise and some pills. I'm gonna show you how to do it. So far we've talked about how to transition your existing clients over, but this group is gonna get big with a lot of new people as well. So we need to make sure we're positioned to sell this well. When you sell a group, the most important thing is a promise and a plan. Let's walk that out right now. So we like to use the magic model for this. There's a video up on the channel about how to build your magic model. Check that out if you want to go deep. The most important thing we need to do when we're selling a program like this is we need to sell a core promise. In other words, if I do this thing, what's the outcome I get? Just like that energy drink, 5-hour energy, it says what it does on the can. I've never drank it. It's probably disgusting. They don't sell it here in Australia, but you get the idea. So your program is designed to get a certain group of people, a certain outcome in a certain time frame. That's how I want you to think about this. Who's it for? What's the result? That's how I want you to think about this. It's for this kind of person to get this kind of result in this time frame. And that's our promise. Now, here's the thing. Sometimes people are a bit worried about, well, I can't guarantee they'll get the outcome because, I can't do the push-ups for them. And that's true. And so the magic phrase we use is, it's designed to. Okay? It's designed to, because that's true. We're going to design this program to do this. It's designed to help who you help to get this result in this time frame. And so, for example, if I looked at Black Belt, it's designed to help business coaches to get to $1 million a year in 12 or 24 months. That's what it does. I've been doing this long enough that I could say even without it's designed to, because it just does. But if you're getting started, it's designed to maybe take some of the fear away. So back to our promise. When we design out this group program, the first thing we need to do is understand who it's for, what the result is, and what's our time frame. Then we go, great. If that's the outcome, what are the top 3 things that people need to do or work on to get that result? And so again, if I take Black Belt and the promise was business coach, $1 million a year, 12 to 24 months. Well, there's 3 things people need to work on. Firstly, they need to work on their lead generation, attracting new leads and warming them up. Second, they need to work on sales and sales process, which we call convert. And then third, delivering group coaching at scale, which is kind of what this video is about today. So we've got 3 core areas. It's got a promise. It's for a particular person to get them to a specific outcome in a certain time frame. And we've got 3 core pillars. We're going to market and sell and deliver. That's great. If we want to go deeper, and our clients do, this is what makes it pop, is for each of these 3 key areas, we go, what are the core strategies or tactics or tools that you need to be able to implement that and get the outcome? And so for simplicity's sake, for each one, let's say your version of attract, convert, deliver, if we just come up with the 1, the 2, maybe it's 3 core areas for each one. So your model might end up having 6 key areas. Again, if you want to go deep on this, check out the Magic Model video. It'll help you build out the whole thing. But now we've got a promise and a map so people understand what they're buying when they buy this kind of mysterious group of yours. The question they're going to be asking is, okay, that sounds great. I get the model. How does it work? And that's where you just need a really simple set of logistics so you can explain in 3 buckets how the program works. All right, let me be clear. This is my model. You're going to make one similar. It's probably going to have a triangle. It's going to have 3 sides, but it's not going to have business coach $1 million. It's not going to have attract, convert, deliver. It's going to have your stuff. So you're going to put your promise in the middle and you're going to figure out what your 3 pillars are. It's going to have the same shape and different content. It's a framework that you get to freestyle in. Does that make sense? So then when you're selling this, whether it's in a call or with a doc or on an event, they get the promise, they understand the model and the map. Now they just need to know, okay, logistically, how does it work if we do this together? And that's where we need 3 buckets to explain our stuff. When you're getting started, it's actually quite straightforward because there's not that much stuff. Maybe there's a one-on-one plan at the start, and then each week or every few weeks, you're going to teach a class, and then there's going to be some Q&As and maybe a community. That's cool. As your program grows and expands and gets a little bit more built out, you run the danger of overwhelming with people with all of the logistics, and they don't need to know all of the stuff. They just need to know enough for them to say, okay, this dude's got a plan and I buy it. And so to do that, we just create 3 buckets to put all of your deliverables in. So I call these 3 buckets the plan, the tools, the help. Best compliment I ever got was from a coach I worked with called Adam, who's like, Taki, you're the only person I've ever met who can make deliverables seem sexy. And here's how we do it. Let me tell you what I'd tell them. So you understand the model. If I were you, there's probably 3 things I'd want. First up, I'd want a plan, not a generic cookie cutter, one size fits all plan. I'd want a plan that's custom, one-on-one to me. And then you explain how you do that. In most of our programs, it starts off with a one-on-one deep dive on strategy so we can take our frameworks and customize it for the individual. In our world, you can list out whatever happens in your onboarding here. Once I've got the plan, you want to know how do you do it. This is great, Tux, but how do I actually implement the stuff? And that's where you talk about your logistics. And so maybe there's a portal with some training videos in it. If you're anything like us, you run workshops, whatever the monthly logistics of your program are. If there's an event, we put that in. So this is the tool. How do I take your plan and learn how to do it? So this is where you'll talk about your tools and your templates, etc. So we've got a plan, tools. Okay, this is great. So if you're anything like me, you're going to get the plan, get really excited, jump into the tools, get rolling, and then get stuck somewhere because you're doing new stuff that you've never done before. The question is, well, how the hell do I get some help? You just kind of roll out your support ladder. And so this is, there's a community with it. It's on school or Facebook or WhatsApp or whatever you use. 24/7, ask for help anytime you want. Then each week we run a coaching call. We call it a weekly jam, okay? Where we can jam on your stuff in real time. And then if we need help, a one-on-one session is just around the corner, and here's how you get the help. So you always know exactly what to do, how to do it, and when you get stuck, you can reach out for help. These 3 buckets just allow you to take lots of logistics. This is really good if you've got like a very complete program, just to chunk it into 3, because no one's going to remember the 78 individual logistics. So there's 2 things we haven't talked about. First one is pricing. How much do we charge for this thing? And what do we do to the price of your existing one-on-one? We'll talk about that in a minute. First, I want you to be really clear, really comfortable, and really confident about delivering this thing. So I want to talk to you about minimum viable program. It's really important that as we start this thing, we don't overload it and kill ourselves, put too much stuff in. Eventually, this thing's going to be like a Ferrari. It's going to be absolutely killer, but it's going to start as a skateboard. So our evolution is going to be something scrappy that can get the job done. It's going to go skateboard, then bike, then motorbike, and then car, and eventually Ferrari. But we're going to start with minimum viable, so it's exactly what your clients need, and it doesn't kill you in the process. When I think about designing the minimum viable program for you, there are really 3 core chunks. Chunk 1, what are we going to teach them and how often? How are we going to coach them? Because they'll come for the content, but what actually helps them win is the coaching. And then what do we need to think about in terms of onboarding and getting people started? So what do we teach them? Well, we mapped that out earlier with our magic bottle. It's going to be, how do we get the core outcome with the 3 sides? Now, in the beginning, I think we focus in on all of the stuff that actually helps them get a quick win, that gets to this point, not what they need to do to be fabulously successful later on. Our onboarding piece, we'll talk about in a minute. The question we want to ask and answer is, where do we want them to be in 30 or 60 or 90 days? What's that outcome? And then what could we teach them to get them there? We're going to have a big fat list of all of the things we could teach, and then frankly, remove anything that isn't necessary to get them the outcome. Often in an attempt to be valuable, we put so much stuff into our program that we end up overwhelming people, overloading them, and they don't get the outcome. They lose heart and they fail. What's the minimum effective dose here to get them the outcome they want, particularly in our first 30, 60, 90 days? What's the outcome? What could we teach them? Is there anything we don't need to get them the outcome? And we just remove that out, and we move that to over here into phase 2. In terms of how this looks logistically, we're going to replace all of our one-on-one sessions with 2 group calls. One where we teach and one where we coach. In terms of the teach sessions, they're going to look like this. Let's say we've got an hour together on Zoom. And it's going to be 70%, here's what you need to know, and 30%, let's do it now. We want the learn-do ratio about 70-30 for a teach. Later on, we'll add do sessions. Inside Black Belt right now, because we're more advanced and we've got the onboarding content all covered, in an average month, the program looks like this. There's 4 weeks, and week 1 is a learn, 70-30. It's 70% learn, 30% do. Week 2 is a do. And a do session is less new content and more getting people to do the stuff. So it's like 10 minutes of teach at the start and 45 or 50 minutes of like me, like a group fitness instructor. I've explained how to do the push-up. Now it's go do 10 push-ups, and then it's tweak. So it might be, here's what a good video looks like. Let's script it out together, tweak the scripts, and then film the damn videos. Week 3 is a meet. It's where we take a client who's doing amazing work and we interview them kind of hot seat case study style, so people can get 50% inspiration, 50% how-to tactics, and see that it's not just like Taki's theory, but it's epic for them as well. Week 4 is a mastermind where I get the clients together helping each other out. This is a great system for once your program's a bit more evolved. I think we're going to start with 1 teach and then a coaching session. And the coaching session is really where we get to jump in, do Q&A, and help them out. So all we need to do right now is to decide what day of the week we're going to do our teach and what day and time of the week are we going to do our coaching session. So it might be on Wednesdays at 8 a.m. your time, whatever time you're at your best and that most of your audience is awake and available as well. If you're just getting started and you don't have enough people to fill a group coaching call, totally cool. Do Officeworks. Make yourself available at that time, say Wednesdays at 8 with the Zoom link open, and you just do your work. And if a client has a question, they can just jump on, ask you questions, and then bounce. Don't worry about your group not being big enough. Just make it office hours and they can drop in whenever they want to, get the help, and then move on. And meanwhile, you just do your own stuff. The next piece of how to coach and get people help is just figure out what are the channels that you're going to use. So what's the community? I've got clients who use Slack or Facebook or school or WhatsApp. It doesn't really matter. What's the core channel that people can jump in and ask questions when they come up so they don't have to wait for the scheduled Q&A call? And then when it comes to onboarding, really, it comes down to a couple of key pieces. It's about making people feel welcome and then making sure they've got a clear plan for starting. And so this just could be as simple as there's a welcome post a one-on-one strategy session. All they need to know is like how it works and what's my next step. When you get a bit more advanced, we've got a group kickoff call, which we'll cover in a future video. But for now, I think there's just like a simple welcome pack, which shows them here's where we are, here's what we're going to do together, and here's how we get started. Maybe there's a one-on-one is the easiest way to kick this off. When you're getting started, orientation is super easy. You could do a one-on-one session to get people started. And then if you think about the conversation we had at the start about what people need to know and need to do in their first 30, 60, 90 days, that's the content you should shoot first. They're the first few workshops you should run so that when new people come in, that content that is now pre-recorded becomes the onboarding pathway for the first 30, 60, or 90 days for your new clients. So we've got a killer program and we've got a good way to look after people. The obvious question, the next question we've got to ask is, okay, how much do I charge for this thing? Is it high ticket? Is it mid ticket? How does it relate to my one-on-one? They're all important questions. We're going to answer them right now over here. So there's one big mistake that people make when they launch programs like this. They've got some one-on-one clients because it's fun and you keep your hands dirty. Maybe you got you some old faves. And they launch this group and they launch the group as like the cheap alternative. And they get on a sales call and they have this dilemma. Like I can fill the group, which is what I say I want. But if the group is cheap and my one-on-one is expensive and you want the money, we take the money and we end up like perpetuating the problem that we started watching this video for in the first place. We just like, I just get more one-on-one clients. It's a terrible mistake. So let's talk pricing because I want to make sure you crush this. Okay, so I want you to think about price like this. You're going to have a bunch of amazing free content. Topic for another video. You might have something that turns leads into customers. We're going to talk about that another day. But then we've got our group and our one-on-one. Here's what I want you to do. Whatever your one-on-one is at right now, whether it's a couple of grand a month or it's 5K a month or it's $300 a month, whatever by the way, if it's $300 a month, we should talk. Whatever your current one-on-one is, I want you to take that and 3 or 5x the price. Okay, it's got to be significantly more expensive. Otherwise, you're going to be on a sales call and people are going to like, well, it's kind of about the same price. I'll just do the one-on-one, please, and you end up trapped. So let's say you charge $1,000 a month for your one-on-one right now. Make it 3 or make it 5K a month. We want to set it up so that if somebody wants it, you're happy to do it because it's worth the money and it'll be good fun. But we don't want it to be, I never want you to be in the position where you have to choose between the group that you want to do and the money you really want. That's a mistake. So let's say we 3 to 5x the price here. What does your group sit at? Well, it's whatever your current one-on-one is right now. So if this was $1,000 a month, your group is $1,000 a month. By the way, that's cheap to give you some comparison. And this becomes say 5K. A month. That way, if you're in a sales situation, if you are selling one-on-one, you never have to sacrifice or choose between your money or the group you want to grow. Of course, there's one other option. This is the one I did. My one-on-one, I just scrubbed it because I wanted to do this. And then the question comes, well, okay, well, how do I talk about the group? Well, you've been selling one-on-one right now. And so when you get to the part which talks about how your program works, instead of saying the one-on-one stuff and the price of that, you just say the group stuff and the price of that. And people buy it instead because it's epic and they don't know any different. All of the stories you've got about your one-on-one or your group are in your head, not in theirs. So let's not put them in their head. So now in your group coaching kit, we've got it all mapped out. Our pricing model, our transition plan, we know what to say, the program promise, etc. If you've been following along, you've got a killer plan to help you switch to group coaching. So let's recap. Here's how you switch to group coaching. Firstly, you switch not just for your needs, but for their benefit. Second, we make the transition from one-on-one to group smooth, like we're that cheesy kid in a 1950s cinema moving in on his lady friend. Or, hey, it's 2025, maybe she's doing it to him. Next up, how do we sell it? Well, with a really clear promise and a really clear pill. So we match our program to their needs. We're going to build this step by step by step. We're not going to start with a Ferrari. We're going to go skateboard, bike, motorbike, car, Ferrari. Okay? Pricing. We're going to rise and fill a vacuum. We're going to take our one-on-one, make it 3 to 5 times more expensive and make the group fill that slot so we don't shortchange ourselves. So my friend, that's the 5 steps for switching to group coaching. We haven't talked about marketing or sales or all of the details of program design, all of the things that we use to get a client to $1 million a year and beyond. If you want to know the whole system, I've recorded you a video about how to do that. It's called the $1 Million Plan and you can find the link to that in the description as well. Thanks for watching. I'll talk to you soon.